Good morning, everyone. According to my computer, it's now 10 o'clock, and we will get things started off. A change to the agenda. Amy Bergens is ill, and our Pledge of Allegiance will be done by County Manager Jennifer Davidson.
Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, our next order of business is public comment. Public is limited to 3 minutes per speaker unless additional time is granted by the board chairman. The Board of Commissioners uses timing lights to ensure that everyone has an opportunity to speak. You will see a green light when you begin and then a yellow light which indicates that you have 30 seconds left and should conclude your comments. Once the light turns red, please sit down. And with that, we will open public comment.
Good morning, Ellie Waller. No disrespect was intended to anyone on the board or any staff members related to my written public comments. My comments are intended to raise awareness of the Tahoe issues that do not surface to the level of importance they should have, in my opinion. I still wholeheartedly believe Douglas County needs to consider a full-time community development representative located in Tahoe to not only be available for meetings, more than I care to list, but here are several: the Tahoe Transportation District Committee and committees, the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency Advisory Planning Commission, TRPA Governing Board and committees, TRPA Hearings Officer, NDOT Legislative Committees, etc. But also be responsible for the 2 area plans that hopefully will be amended by the end of 2024, and also figure out how we can finally have a memorandum of understanding that Douglas County is the lead for these area plans and Tahoe permitting. At the very least, someone on staff should be reviewing all the meeting agendas that I've listed and many more to see if Douglas County is being represented properly or has a seat at the table or a voice. Examples of projects that Douglas County was not the lead that could have resulted in better project planning are Latitude 39 luxury condo project in the casino corner that is now for sale with many, many entitlements. The TRPA should have had an environmental impact report, not just an environmental assessment, to determine cumulative impacts of that project and its existing conditions in that area. The executive director of TRPA even stated this project didn't exactly meet the intended regional plan update goals and objectives, and that they could do better. It was not a unanimous vote and rushed as board members did not have an agreement and challenged the traffic analysis that should have been revisited. That did not happen. TRPA also, just like you folks, can add conditions to projects, and that is rarely done. Next, the TRPA's representative on the event center didn't represent the citizens of Douglas County very well, which has now resulted in Douglas County's inability to utilize the event center for Board of Commissioners or other meetings related to Tahoe issues or local youth events. Also, in my opinion, the Edgewood newly built luxury home product line for rent is not under the vacation home rental guidelines because the area plan was exempted. The upcoming Barton Hospital, once the area plan is approved, in a zoning change to the tourist core, should be an environmental impact report. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing us to come and speak. My name is Greg Rolson. I've been a citizen here in Minden for, since 1991. My concern that I bring to you today is regarding proposed cell tower placements, and that they're going to be placed in residential areas close to daycares and what have you. But in mid-January, I attended a meeting from the East Fork Fire Protection Agencies, and they, on their docket was to approve cell towers placement at Stations 14, which is right on County, and 6th Street out on, or Fire Station 6 out on, I think it's Johnson Lane. Both of these areas are very, very close to daycare centers and residential communities and businesses. As you guys may or may not know, most of these cell towers are placed more in industrial areas for their broadcasting. But in any ways, Verizon approached the fire department to have these cell towers placed. I believe it's both financially driven and also driven by trying to improve their customer base, because basically they just don't have good coverage, particularly in Minden. Certainly AT&T and T-Mobile do. Those sources weren't addressed. So anyways, we spoke at that meeting, but there was little regard for our public opinion during that meeting, that we had specific concerns related to not just health, but also property values will deteriorate anywhere where cell towers are placed within residential communities. There's just a whole host of reasons why you would not want these cell towers in. Sometimes we get the opinion that this is already a done deal, signed. I bring it to you guys because I think that this is informational and that you need to be aware of it, and then that you need to take public opinion into consideration in public health. One thing that I found disturbing in particular was that when this presentation was given, Verizon utilized a company by the name of Waterford to try to deliver what is public health. There we go. Public health and safety measures. Unfortunately, all they used was a computerized model to determine what public health and public safety would be. They didn't even use human models in determining what is safe for the public. Unfortunately, these cell towers produce radio frequency radiation. It can be considered somewhat controversial. It's garnered by the FCC. The FCC has not updated their guidelines since 1991. So that
Thank you
tells
for your
a lot
comments,
right there.
sir.
So just consider who's going to benefit from this, Verizon or the citizens. And it will be Verizon.
Hi, for the next person, state your name for the record.
My name is Susan Rolson. Do I start? Go ahead. Okay. My name is Susan Rolson. I've lived here over 30 years. I'm also a registered nurse, and I've worked in our valley for over 30 years in the emergency rooms, taking care of patients. I'm here today to speak up for public health and safety. Number one, these cell towers are a fire danger. There's a woman called Susan Foster. You can look her up. She's a writer and honorary firefighter with the San Diego Fire Department. She states that firefighters or anyone else trying to put fire on an energized cell tower will be electrocuted. Foster explains a cell tower with big winds like we have here spreads the fire, and the fire cannot be put out unless you have a utility company come and cut the fire. In the meanwhile, anybody, kids, we have a daycare less than 100 feet away, if they're running out or people are trying to evacuate, they could be electrocuted if they come in contact with the water. She does explain that she cautions cities to establish residential setbacks from all wireless installations so that people have time to escape in the event of fire. She said most cities and counties are unaware and are authorized to regulate the design of cell towers to protect the public from electrical hazards. Cellular installations must be viewed as what they are, electrical installations. Tony Simmons, he's an electrical engineer who is subject matter expert on electrical safety in California and Nevada states. Many people are not aware that electrical equipment, including cell towers, 5G small, pose a fire threat that must be mitigated by a recognized electrical fire safety expert. Electrical devices are going to fail at some point. The goal is to ensure that they do not imperil life, health, and property. Dense populated areas like schools, daycares, and this is how they say it, homes, neighborhoods, and some places of business based on safety concerns should not have a cell tower near them. People need time to escape in the event of a cell fire. Also, the dangers of being exposed 24/7. RF exposure is continuous. It's cumulative. It doesn't just happen when you're holding your cell phone up against your head. Every time you're exposed to whether it's your cell phones or a cell tower, it accumulates in your body. Research has found that the cumulative dose from cell phone towers, RF, can result in significant exposure over time. Okay, briefly, we have children, 105 children in Alley Daycare right there, 100 feet away. They have thinner skulls, and they are affected way more than adults by the RF exposure. We need to really take this into consideration. We, the residents of these neighborhoods, request that you please locate these cell towers in a safer area for all residents, not located in our neighborhoods. We live in a special place here in Douglas County, and I hope that you will respect this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Casey Rogers for the record. I'm here to bring community awareness to this EMF, electromagnetic frequency, as well. We understand that cell phones, Wi-Fi routers, microwave ovens, TVs, and smart meters do emit RF frequency waves. Not nearly to what the towers do, but we have the ability to change our exposure by choice to these above devices. And the above exposures are not a 24/7 a continuous exposure to them. Remember that specific safety guidelines and exposure limits can vary based on different organizations and research findings. However, it is crucial to be aware of these levels and take appropriate steps to reduce exposure when necessary. And because we can choose whether we stay around somebody who smokes a cigarette all day and choose what kind of health we allow in our own bodies and what we want, that's a choice for us. But you take away our choice when you put cell towers that are harmful next to schools on Stephanie Way and right next to a park. I mean, it's like, for example, let me just say, why don't you think about it being in a X-ray all day long, every day by day, month by month, year by year? What do you think would happen if that was to occur? And that's what happens with these. No matter what they tell you, it doesn't. We have plenty of evidence to tell us that it's dangerous. It's a fire danger. There are setbacks. Setbacks should be from residential property lines and from entrances and exits to neighborhoods. 1,640 feet and 500 meters, a minimum for residents, schools, daycares, and nursing homes. This is an acknowledgement that certain areas need a little more safety protection. Also, property values is another legitimate reason not to locate cell towers in neighborhoods, as values have been harmed by at least 20%, and it may be difficult to sell your house if a cell tower is built close to your home. Who wants to live by a radioactive tower? Give me a break. Let's get a clue. Quit telling me that you care about the children when you set this stuff right next to them. Keep them out of our neighborhoods. Keep them away from our homes. Our health matters. Please do some research. YouTube is full of EMF. All you have to do is put it in the search bar, EMF. There's doctors explaining how it works, why the FCC is not doing what they should do, how the money is all interconnected. Let's get it together. Let's be a better community. Let's do this for our people. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Ted Gaines, I gave you some history in the county last week at a meeting, and then I got some rebuttal. I haven't got to hear the rebuttal that was gave to me, but I was the person on the other end of that phone call. Now, my integrity, my honesty, is being questioned. So I'm more than happy to take a lie detector test with our county manager. The one that's not telling the truth can pay for it. And the one that's telling the truth has the right to publish who's not telling the truth in the newspaper. Because I know what was said to me. That's number one. A commissioner was at a meeting with me. There was another one supposed to show up. He didn't. I turned a building in here that's never been finalized, and they said, give them time. We need to look at it. Respect me. I want to give them time. I showed there that it's never been final. The paperwork shows it's never been final. I have 2 different letters from legal counsel says it's never been final. Now they're putting attachments. They're trying to bring this permit back up. It's the inspector's last inspection was 9/19 of 19, or 11/19 of 19. And I might add, there was something said about maternity leave by our county manager. I gave her and Mr. Ritchie, right, in December of 18 paperwork for an investigation, so she was fine then. So I'm not sure just when we turned this in, the end of 18, first of 19, but she made copies of my paper for me, and it was not showing any maternity leave. I just heard she's pregnant. Now, again, this building was not final. They've been using it for 3 years. I got 2 different letters from legal counsel saying this building never been finalized. Now that permit was expired in, I believe it was the 2nd month of 20, it's in here. Right on the permit that the contractor signed, the last inspection was 11/19 of 19, 180 days after that inspection, that permit would expire without paperwork to keep it going. Well, that was in 19, so now we're in 24. There's never been any paperwork. That permit's expired. They're trying to redo it, show favoritism, because you guys gave them permission to make the last decisions. The next thing I want to talk about real quick is the hospital. I started looking into our hospital. Our hospital has had people making inspections on it that have the lowest certification you can get. Basically, they know what a house is. They're doing electrical inspections on this hospital. Now, an inspector called me this morning on one of the places I turned in. We had a long conversation that our head building official had called him. And there is a special certification to inspect hospitals in California.
Jason Gibson, House of Gibson, here this morning on behalf of the Nevada State Assembly. With regards to EMF and electromagnetic pollution, these folks here can't hear a word that you're saying. They're fact resistant. It's a political body. And you can tell that they are only getting maybe an nth of what we're saying, because since they installed these ridiculous LCD monitors, you can't see them, they can't see you. They didn't even think about how we sit down below them, and you can't even see their eyes anymore. You can't even see their faces from down here anymore. All you get is the back of a computer screen. It's not enough that they have a 5-foot screen on the south side and another 5-foot screen on the east side. They got the same information on that screen that they got on these screens here. So with regards to EMF, electromagnetic pollution, radiation, cancer, folks, you're going to have to get with us at inpowermovement.com and join the next notice of mass liability wave. Please go to inpowermovement.com. Thank you, Cal Washington, and those of you who are shutting down 5G, shutting down the geochemical engineering of our skies, addressing the smart meter schemes, the other radiation pollution schemes, and the COVID manufacturing scheme. inpowermovement.com. Now, I digress. We want to go back 9 days to recapitulate the Black Friday budgets from hell, where this county, despite receiving an unprecedented influx of federal reserve notes in tune of $9+ million, came up short in their budget by 700 grand. Just like kids, you know, they just not happy with what they have. They got to have the best thing, the bigger thing, the fastest thing, the newest thing. And, you know, just not content with what they have. They just always overexerting themselves in their deficit spending model. So we know who's running the show. They're fictitious persons. They're unreal. They're disconnected from their geography, from their bodies most of the time. And that's why they fall on their heads and need surgery and break their feet and their legs, because they're not really together, folks. So I think Mark Jackson said it best. He said, we're so blessed to have unbelievable public employees, unbelievable public servants in Douglas County. And that's right. Totally unbelievable. Saying one thing and doing another. Black Friday budget reports from hell. $700,000 gap in your budget. Ridiculous.
Jim Jackson from the House of Reason. I've been up here many times, and most of the time we can see you. We'd like to see if your screens could go down so those of us that like to watch and see how you're paying attention, who you're paying attention to, can see you. Now we just see the tops of your heads most of the time. I know this is new. I saw it the first time when the Airport Commission was meeting the other night. Anyway, I've dropped off 4 different documents that one of our neighbors, P.K. Klein, wrote. They're interesting reading. She's can be a real powerhouse, and she lives right on the edge of BLM just like I do. So we're going to get to my favorite subject is Johnson Lane. One of the things that I've noticed over the times I've been here is that the county staff jumps through hoops to change ordinances, to change zoning and everything for developers, to do whatever is necessary to get the developer to be able to develop the land. That's fine, that's part of their job. For the most part, you guys go along with them. But when it comes to Johnson Lane, it doesn't seem like anybody wants to lift a finger to really do anything other than talk about it. There's a lot of good words that have been said, a lot of letters have been written and everything, but we don't see any real action taking place. Now, I've been told that there's stuff going on in the background that we don't know about. Well, if we don't know about it, I can't say that it's really going on. We hope it is, but we're getting real close to giving up on you guys. We hope that we don't have to do that. We put a lot of faith in you over the past few years, and we hope that it's not to no avail. One of the things that happened this morning as I was driving down here across East Valley, I saw a truck, a double, from Knox Excavation. Guess where he was going? Up Sunrise Pass Road, which they said they would never use for trucks. Now, he was empty, so why he was going up there, I don't know. That's a 1-lane road that goes up there, and it goes all the way back to the mine. So I don't know what they're doing, but I was right behind him when he turned on to Sunrise Pass. So we ask you once again, please do something to stop this from going down Johnson Lane. It's going to be extremely detrimental to the area, and as residents of the county, we're asking you to please come to our defense on this. Thank you.
Jim Slade. Have you ever watched Shark Tank on CNBC, the business channel? It's a program about investing in startup companies. One of the regular investors is Kevin O'Leary, a wealthy Canadian businessman and investor. He also ran for Prime Minister of Canada as a member of the Conservative Party not long ago. He was asked in an interview about developer and former President Trump having been recently found guilty in civil fraud case for falsification of business records, issuing false financial statements, insurance fraud, and conspiracy. O'Leary's statement was, quote, Everything you've just listed off is done by every real estate developer everywhere on earth in every city, unquote. So now we see what we're up against. Developers are always playing chess while the county seems to be playing checkers. Developers has taken every advantage possible over our county for decades. But that's not enough of an advantage for developers for Chairman Rice. No, he has chosen to allow developers or their representatives to walk up to the podium and be allowed to speak again and again for as long as they like, whether that be to rebut public comment or the board discussion. That is ill-advised and contrary to the public interest. In many past years, every agenda has clearly stated the process for consideration of an agenda item. Read the item into the record, staff presentation, applicant presentation, public comment, and finally board discussion and decision. Nowhere did it list applicant rebuttal. Most previous chairmen didn't allow applicant rebuttal, or if they did, they allowed further public comment as well. Not Chairman Rice, though. Since he has never met a development that he couldn't support, he wants to give further unfair advantage to developers. Rice's actions are a clear violation of the county's boards and norms and procedures, which state that the board will, quote, address issues with equity, fairness, and equal protection, work for the common good of the people of Douglas County, and ensure fair and equal treatment for all persons. The county manager and others have had a renewed interest recently in following the board's norm and procedures. So where is the outcry over this clear violation? It again appears that there's one set of rules for the chairman and other commissioners and a very different set for the public. The county should be embarrassed by your deference and bias towards developers and apparent disdain for fairness and equal treatment of the public. But apparently that is not the case. In a related matter, staff, in their assessment of developments and their financial impacts, has, for many months, only mentioned the added property tax revenues, while completely ignoring the obvious added costs to the county, such as roads, traffic, infrastructure, personnel, law enforcement, and on, not to mention the deteriorating quality of life. It is some small improvement in items 8 and 9 today that staff finally has chosen to include vague statements about those added costs. Past boards have recognized and admitted to the fact that growth actually doesn't even pay for itself. For staff to finally admit that there are added costs is a minor improvement at best.
Good morning. My name's Catherine Dodge. I'm president of Douglas Animal Welfare Group. The following are my opinions reflecting many conversations I've had with dog members. This public comment is in relation to item H from the consent agenda. I want to thank DCAS leadership for reaching out to me so that we can work on these policies together. For that reason, I ask you to pull the item from consent and reschedule it at a later date. Consent agenda item H is the proposed updated policies for DCAS. DOG has long sought to influence certain DCAS policies. There are two policies I wish to speak to you about: impounded animals and owner surrender. Let me begin by addressing the impounded animals issue. At this time, if a member of the public sees a cat that's been hanging around looking homeless and hungry, and they bring the cat to animal control so it can be safe and either reunited with its owner or adopted, they are told to keep this cat for 5 days, and if space is available on day 6, then you can bring it back. Many times, these Good Samaritans are not able to keep the cat in their home. Perhaps someone in the family is allergic, they have animals that don't understand cats, or they're renters. In this case, DCAS tells them to call DOG to see if someone can foster the cat or put it back where they found it. This policy led DOG to create the Found Cat program. However, most Douglas County residents are shocked and upset when they run into this policy. While DOG has created a workaround, we feel a more appropriate response is for Douglas County to change this policy to accept stray cats if there is space available. We ask that you direct staff to update DCAS policy to remove the requirement that the public keep a found cat in their home for 5 days if space is available. Next, we ask you to change the limitations placed upon surrendered animals the shelter will accept. Here, owners who need to surrender a pet who is 12 years or older or may have chronic health issues, which are not defined, are turned away. Often this is a family member or friend or neighbor who has inherited a pet from a recently deceased or terminally ill family member. The DCAS staff tells us that they do this to avoid increased medical costs that may come from older animals or animals with chronic health issues. Dog typically pays for these types of medical expenses, and while I have not had the opportunity to ask dog members how they feel about this, I am reasonably certain their answer will be, we would rather DCAS accept them and allow us to help them than that they be turned away. I want to conclude by saying none of the above comments are intended to negatively reflect upon current or past DCAS staff or leadership. We all got here together, and we just want to take this opportunity to ask for your help in changing some long-standing policies that we don't feel serve Douglas County residents or its animals. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I know we're not supposed to ask questions, and maybe I'm prohibited from, but I'm trying to get a clarification of what she's asking for. Can I ask her that? So are you asking to spend time to have this pulled from the agenda so Dog can spend time with the animal shelter or county staff and determine what changes are suggested, or are you asking the county board to make these changes, some of these things that you just recommended there, to pull it, to look at it, and then bring it back on the agenda to make those changes? I'm a little confused.
I think it's most appropriate. They've reached out to me. They want to talk about these changes. I think it's appropriate for us to do that, but it's also appropriate to pull it so we can do it, and then they can bring it back after we've had a conversation and worked on the policies together. Is that? Thank you.
Is there any further public comment? Seeing none, I will bring this back to the board. We have already been requested to pull item H from the agenda and put it on at a later date. So with that exception, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Can I give a response to public comment?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, but we have several items before we get into the approval of the consent calendar. So I think it would be appropriate to go through our notes before we get to the consent calendar.
So first would be response to public comment. I would like to speak to those people who came on the cell tower issue. Thank you. I just became aware of this week, and one of the proposed towers is in my district, so I think it's appropriate I provide some information and leadership on this. So it looks like you have to leave, but if you would call me, I have some cards, I can give you my number, and I can give you more information.
Okay, if there's no more response from the board, we need to approve the agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Is that with the deletion of item H?
Mr. Chair, we will get into the approval of the consent calendar later on in an item.
I'm sorry?
Okay,
Yes, it can
that's
be
fine.
pulled at this time.
Then I will change my motion, and I will move to approve the agenda minus item H on the consent calendar.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And now we need the approval of our previous minutes. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Minutes are approved as presented. We will now recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as the Douglas County Liquor Board. And we're minus our sheriff. However, Captain Mitchitarian is advancing. Commander, or Captain, I'm sorry.
Good morning.
Mr. Chair, do you want to read that item into the agenda, into the notes?
Okay, the Douglas County Liquor Board will, for possible action, Discussion to approve the on-site unrestricted retail liquor license for DST Coffee LLC, doing business as DST Coffee, represented by owner-operator Jacob Wortlow. Jacob Wortlow is signed a waiver of notice of hearing. DST Coffee is located at 1415 U.S. Highway 395 in Gardnerville, Nevada, 89410. Captain.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Captain Ron Mitchitarian. This applicant has met all the requirements for this application, and we are not in objection.
Okay, this is for possible action. Is
Mr.
there any
Chair.
public comment? Yes.
We note in our public comment that we do not take public comment on liquor board items. So at this time, I would move for the approval of the on-site unrestricted retail liquor license for DST Coffee LLC as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Captain Mitchitarian.
Thank you.
We will now adjourn as the Douglas County Liquor Board and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners. And do I have a motion on the consent calendar?
I move approval of consent agenda items A through O, with the exception of H, which has been pulled.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Administrative agenda. And there were no items pulled for further discussion, so we will go to item number 1. For presentation only, ceremonial presentation of an employee service award to Jeffrey Sherman. I always blow your name. I'm sorry about that. I've done that for 20 years. For presentation only, ceremonial presentations with the Employee Service Award for, I'm not going to do it again, for 25 continuous years of service to Douglas County. Captain Mitchitarian.
Schemenauer, Schemenauer.
That's about as easy as Mitchitarian.
It is. Good morning.
I mastered that one about 20 years ago.
It's been longer than that. Good morning. Jeff Schemenauer was hired by the Douglas County Sheriff's Office by then Sheriff Ron Perini on March 6th of 1999. Jeff was assigned to the jail division, and about a year later was assigned to the patrol division, and I was his primary field training officer. Hard to believe it's been 25 years already. Out of a 12-week training program, I taught Jeff for the first 3 weeks, 1 week of traffic, and 2-week final phase. I am proud to say that Jeff developed into a safe, personal, and productive patrolman. From 2006 through 2015, Jeff was assigned to the Investigations Division and served on 3 narcotic task force, SLEDNET, SET, and TriNet. In 2015, Jeff was promoted to sergeant and worked 3 of our 4 divisions, the jail, patrol, and administration. Jeff currently oversees our court services division. Jeff was a member of our SWAT team for 10 years and has been a member of our bomb squad in partnership with the Tahoe Douglas Fire Protection District as a public safety bomb technician for 13 years. Jeff is one of only 28 FBI certified bomb technicians in the state of Nevada and 3,000 nationwide. Jeff has a master's degree in management and leadership, a Juris Doctor in law, and a management post certificate. Jeff has always supported continued education, has put together an educational library for our personnel, meets with new deputies to encourage they continue their education and to begin investing in their retirement plan. Please join me in congratulating Jeff for his 25 years of dedicated service to the Douglas County Sheriff's Department and our community.
I'll just share a quick story. My very first day of patrol, I'm assigned to Ron as he's my FTO. After briefing, the very first thing he does is he asks for my driver's license, and he calls dispatch and checks me for wants and warrants right in front of me. I did. Some things you never forget.
And our chairman is joining us to congratulate you as well. And we'll get a photo. And I do believe you have family members in the audience,
My
please.
beautiful wife is here.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you for all of your support of him in the office.
That's easier. Mitch.
Thank you. All right, let's get back to work. All right.
Next, we have Agenda Item 2 for presentation only, ceremonial presentation of Proclamation 2024P-035, proclaiming the month of April 2024 as National Autism Awareness Month in Douglas County.
All right. Whereas autism is one of the fastest growing developmental disabilities in the world, excuse me, except for frogs and throat, affecting 1 in 36, according to estimates from the CDC's Autism and Developmental Disabilities Monitoring Network. This includes people in the Douglas County community. Whereas autism is a result of neurological disorder affecting the functioning of the brain. Whereas, although a cure for autism has not been found, persons with autism can be helped to reach their greatest potential. Accurate early diagnosis and the resulting appropriate education and intervention are vital to the highest quality of life for the individual. Whereas support groups such as the Family Support Council, the Acton Club, the Moxie Up are organizations in Carson Valley for support and advocacy to help families, children, and adults who have received the diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder. Whereas the Autism Resource Fair has been organized by Family Support Council community volunteers and will include ways for those on the spectrum to receive information about support services in Douglas County. The fair will take place on April 20th on 2024 from 10 to 2 p.m. in the CVIC Hall. And whereas the Douglas County Sheriff's Office created the Autism Recognition Program to assist family members and or caregivers to register people with autism with the Douglas County Sheriff's Department. This active partnership takes a proactive approach to reduce anxiety for those with autism, assist with everyday police encounters, and during critical incidents. The program also helps improve police officer awareness and response to people with autism. The information will assist officers with early recognition, parent-guardian reunification, and overall safety. Now, therefore, let it be proclaimed by the Douglas County Board of Commissioners, along with the Douglas County staff and residents, that April 2024 is National Autism Awareness Month in Douglas County, Nevada, adopted this 4th day of April 2024 by the Board of County Commissioners. Thank you for what you do.
Well, I get up here every year, but unfortunately I've lost my voice. So I've asked my husband to say a few words. Brody got up here last year and he said, I asked him, Mom, do you want to do it again, Brody? He said, Mom, I was exhausted after that. And I said, totally understand how you feel, Brody.
Hi, thank you. If you couldn't understand what she said, she's sick. And it's my turn. So she wrote a nice thing she's going to say today about this proclamation, and I'll try to do my best to honor her and what she wanted. Melissa moved here about approximately a little more than 10 years ago, and she came as a single mom with a 5-year-old son and a 2-year-old son, and they struggled because there's not a lot of autism programs here. There wasn't a lot of anything for people with autism at that time, so it was really tough for her, and she won't say it, but it was. She took a lot for her to grapple with the system to try to get some help and stuff for her and for Brody. But as she looks around and she talks about this all the time, about all the help the people in the audience here and the community itself do for people with autism and on the spectrum and other issues within the county, she's very thankful and really loves the support. And I apologize, I also have a cold. We have 3 kids. We pass colds like a potato all day long, and the house is terrible. So. But now looking at Brody, we look at Brody, he's 15, he's only going to be 16 here pretty soon. It's hard for her and us to reflect on all the help. Gary Dove and the Kiwanis got Brody a bike to help him with a 3-wheel bike to help him ride and learn about balance. Colleen Lawrence and her group, Moxie Up and Miss Monica, they gave him ABA therapy and helped him, and he still goes today to help him with coping and learning how to be a productive person in society. And then, of course, family support. They do the autism fair, and again, like the chairman spoke, the sheriff's office, we're there also because we want to bring in other autistic kids or any kid or any child that we think we're come in contact with that would have an issue with law enforcement because of the bright lights or the big uniform or the big person, and try to get them documented in our system so when we go to those calls, we already know ahead of time, hey, he doesn't like lights and sounds. It bothers him. It triggers him. So we're able to respond differently to a person as opposed to somebody who's just having a bad day. So programs like that have been remarkable in this community, and I think it's a team effort, and I think Melissa recognizes that. The sheriff is grateful. If you see it outside, there's an autism car. The last 5 years, we've wrapped a car for autism awareness, and we try to bring that awareness for the month of April, not only with the proclamation, but also with the car, the sheriff's office car. And you'll see, I'll try to drive it as much as I can, and some of the other guys during this month, you'll see me driving it or parked in road construction. It could be another spot you might see me sitting, unfortunately. But it'll be around, and we're very thankful because it does support those people with the challenges that have, and it recognizes that we all are aware. And Melissa's quote is that she likes the message, we see you, and we're here to lend a hand. So a very important part of that for the sheriff's office and us, and we're very thankful for the sheriff for allowing us to do that every year. Then she said something nice about me. That's not relevant. And then... but as she stands, she says that as she stands here today, she's bursting with pride how far everybody's come and how an honor it is to be part of the solution. All the people and all the dedication, everybody in the room that's been there for this kind of program. It's a community program as well. It's a county program. It's all everybody trying to do the right thing. And people that don't ever come in contact with a person on the spectrum don't understand sometimes. This is my first real interaction besides working the last 30 years. I understand it now better, and sometimes I'm amazed because he talks about dinosaur phylums and all these dinosaur parts, and I'm looking at him like, I'm just trying to open a can of raviolis to make dinner. I don't, but he's so intelligent. There's so many things that are great about it. It's hard to even call it a disability because there's so many good things he can do. There's other things that they can't that we work on, just like anybody in the world. So we're very thankful, and I think she's very thankful. And if she could speak, of course, she blames me for being sick. We would say so. Thank you for your time.
Get in here.
Squeeze in.
Hey, how are you?
Come on,
Jump in front row.
Thank you. Action.
It's not as hard as that.
With that, we'll go to administrative agenda item number 3 for presentation only. ceremonial presentation of Proclamation 2024P-040, proclaiming the month of April 2024 as National County Government Month in Douglas County.
And for this presentation, we ask Commissioner Gardner to step down. The chairman has asked me to read this one into the record, speaking of frogs in the throat, so I am currently illness-free, so I'll take this one. All right, it is my honor. Whereas the nation's 3,069 counties, serving more than 330 million Americans, provide essential services to create healthy, safe, and vibrant communities. Whereas counties fulfill a vast range of responsibilities and deliver services that touch nearly every aspect of our residents' lives. Whereas Douglas County and all counties take pride in our responsibility to protect and enhance the health, well-being, and safety of our residents in efficient and cost-effective ways. Whereas under the leadership of the National Association of Counties, President Mary Jo McGuire of NACO is highlighting county leadership through the lens Forward Together, celebrating the role of county governments in connecting, inspiring, and leading as intergovernmental partners. Whereas the role includes a responsibility to inspire county residents to engage with its communities and to lead by highlighting our strength as intergovernmental partners. Whereas each year since 1991, the National Association of Counties has encouraged counties across the country to elevate awareness of county responsibility programs and services. And whereas the Nevada Association of Counties membership is comprised of all 17 Nevada county governments and believes that county government, being closest to the people, has the best opportunity to make positive change and to lead our communities into the future. Therefore, be it proclaimed by the Douglas County Board of Commissioners, April 2024 as National County Government Month in Douglas County, and encourage all county officials, employees, schools, and residents to participate in county government celebration activities. Adopted this 4th day of April 2024 by the Board of County Commissioners and signed by our chairman. Commissioner Rice, if you don't mind. I'm sorry, Commissioner Gardner, if you don't mind. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Okay. So, as the current Vice President of the Nevada Association of Counties, it's a great honor to accept this on behalf of Mary Jo McGuire, the President of the National Association of Counties, and Stacy Giomi, the current President of the Nevada Association of Counties. I concur that I believe, and I've always contended, that county government is the best level of government to serve in because it's the government that is closest to the people. And so I thank the county for recognizing that, and on behalf of the 3,069 counties serving more than 330 million Americans, thank you very much for this recognition. Mr. Chairman, yes, sir. Perhaps we could take a break until 11. If we don't, would that be okay?
Well, we can play like we're at Etzt and sit here and squirm, but let's take a 10-minute break.
Thank you.
We will be in recess. All right, let's call the meeting back to order. And we will move on to item number 4 for presentation only. Presentation by Richard Wilkinson, Grant and River Coordinator with the Carson Valley Conservation District, regarding the emergency flood damage repairs made to the Carson River levee near the Carson Valley Golf Course in Gardnerville. Douglas County waived the floodplain development permit fee, estimated to be $300, and contributed $80,808.23 in funding the project. Courtney Walker.
Good morning, Courtney Walker for the, maybe my mic will work. Good morning, members of the commission. Thank you for having us this morning. Courtney Walker, Stormwater Program Manager, and I'm sitting here with Rich Wilkinson, who is, I guess you're the grants coordinator for the Carson Valley Conservation District. And we were just going to go through and give you an update on the repairs that were done this past spring to the levee down by the Carson Valley Golf Course. We noticed through many resident phone calls to myself and also to Rich at the Conservation District, the amount of erosion that had occurred on this levee due to the winter of 2023. We had pretty sustained high flows in the river for several months. And you can see on this exhibit here, the picture on the left is the blue area that was completely eroded. And 2 years prior to that, you can see it was all land. There was sagebrush and trees and things like that. And so there was a substantial amount of erosion on this levee. And I actually, honestly, when I first was contacted about this, I didn't even realize that it existed. It's not a county asset, county-owned asset. Nobody actually really claims ownership over it. It's been there for a very long time, and so it was quite surprising to know that it had degraded so quickly over the winter, and we had to do quite a bit of research to figure out what to actually do and who would be the one to do it, as the county doesn't typically facilitate projects on the river, bank stabilization projects. We do work with the Carson Valley Conservation District often on river projects and bank stabilization projects. They're usually the lead agency for things like that. Conservation districts are unique in the way that they have the ability to do work on private property. And they also have, Rich has a lot of expertise in terms of river projects. And so it was kind of a natural fit to have the conversation with the Conservation District. Here is a photo of it. We did go out and look at it. There was just a thin kind of layer of the berm, basically, between the river and the adjacent neighborhood in the Carson Valley Golf Course. And so it definitely looked like it was going to be an issue next time that you get higher flows in the river, which if it would ever stop snowing, will probably happen pretty soon this spring. We started off doing a bunch of research in terms of this levee, and there's a lot of resources through the public library that has old Record Courier articles. This one is from 1997, and it turns out that after the January 1st, 1997 flood event, the levee completely failed, and it flooded several homes in the vicinity of the golf course. And so it was interesting to read kind of the partnership that formed with several different agencies to try to fund that repair to be made. In searching for further articles, we found one from 2005 where the levee once again, it didn't fail, but it was compromised, similar to how it was this past spring. And so once again, a partnership had to get formed to try to figure out various agencies helping to fund this effort. And so it's not the first time that it's happened. I'm sure it's not going to be the last time that it'll happen. It likely will fail in the future. They say that there's two kinds of levees. There's levees that have failed and there's levees that will fail. And so this one is actually falls into both of those categories. And so I just wanted to give you a little bit of history that it's not the first time that this community has dealt with this particular issue. It certainly won't be the last time, and we've tried to memorialize at least the process that we just went through with the Conservation District and other agencies to help fund the effort, so that at least when the next person alerts someone that it's an issue, there'll be a little bit more documentation on it, less research to have to do in terms of moving forward. So with that, I'm going to let Rich talk about how they kind of coordinated the effort, the work that was done, and some before and after pictures. And then he's going to discuss just a couple other river projects that have been completed recently in response to the high flow event from last year and some additional bank stabilization projects.
Thank you. For the record, Rich Wilkinson, Coordinator for Carson Valley Conservation District. I wanted to go back to the second slide. Courtney did a good job explaining it, but one thing I wanted to point out, if you look at the aerial view on the right side of the screen, you'll see that the river's coming straight through the channel there, and that's traditionally how that river section has flowed. This area was historically straightened by the Bureau of Reclamation and the Army Corps of Engineers, primarily for the purpose of providing adjudicated water to all the ranchers. And so if you look at the aerial image on the left, you'll see that the flow is actually coming from the east to the west, and there's a reason for that. After looking at this site pretty extensively, we noted that there's a lot of sand, gravel, and cobble and woody debris in this stretch of the channel, and I think a lot of it has to do with maybe some of the fires that occurred in the upper watershed of the Carson River. This work was wonderful, but we know that there's going to be some future maintenance and additional work in this location. And then if you can go to the... So Carson Valley Conservation District, we already had a contract with Kimley Horn, and since this was an emergency and we needed to get it done as quickly as possible, we signed an addendum with our engineer, and we put together this slide. This is actually our abbreviated engineered plan. Typically, we give a little bit more detail to our contractors. But basically, we noted that we needed to accumulate 2,300 cubic yards of material. And the best way for us to do it was to utilize the in-stream material there that had been deposited from that flood. And so that was the main part of the restoration to the levee. We also brought in large riprap boulders. One thing that our district has done in recent years is we're real specific on the type of rock we use. This particular rock is from the airport in Carson. It's a heavy basalt, and we've found that being fractured is better because it tends not to roll, and it'll trap sediment over time too. So what's nice about this project, you'll see natural recruitment in the rocks. Eventually, over time, you'll see brush, trees, willows, and it'll be hard to see. So that's one reason we did that. So here is a before construction picture taken on January 23rd, and I'm standing upstream of the project looking down. To the left of the slide, you can see the existing levee that's still intact. As you get to the center of the screen, you can see where the levee had been eroded away. Another part of the slide I wanted to point out is you can see the flows are going directly into the bank there, which is concerning because that's where your erosion started. On the right is one of the sand and gravel bars that we use to generate the material for the repair. And so here's an after picture. You can see that we had used all the in-stream material. We placed that material, we compacted it. We looked upstream of this structure and downstream because we wanted to make it exactly the way it was. And so in this particular project, you can see that we came very close to matching that. When we shape the bank, we want to shape it to at least a 3-to-1 slope because that'll handle high flows a little better. If you go any steeper than that, you're not gonna, it's a little more erosive, hydraulic energy on the bank. So you can see it turned out very well, and I know we've got some more pictures. So this is prior to construction. We're standing on top of the bank, also looking upstream. And if you want to go to the next one. And that's what it looks like today. One thing I wanted to point out about the bank itself, traditionally the bank height there is about 9 feet from the bed of the bank to the top. With a levee on top of it, it's actually 12 feet. And so from the top of that bank to the toe of the river is about 36 feet. And so it's quite an expensive project, and with prices today, it was a little more expensive than we anticipated. But on the levee itself, on average, it is about 15 feet wide and 3 feet deep. So another picture, this time we're standing on the levee, but we're looking downstream. And then that's the same location. So you can see it turned out very well. And as I mentioned before, there's a good chance that we'll try to come out a little bit later on and broadcast some seed, maybe do some plantings in this location too. But it was a big improvement. I know that the landowners that live in that development are very happy with it. So here's a slide detailing all of our quantities. It's the 2,300 cubic yards we sourced locally. It's very difficult for us and expensive to bring in what we consider clean fill to a project site. So it makes sense to use that native material that's there. We had different sizes of riprap. We used 330 cubic yards of the large boulders, and then we used about 110 cubic yards of these smaller size boulders. The last information on the bottom was if we had enough money to do not only the levee repair, we wanted to do some channel maintenance, because all around that location, as I mentioned before, there's a substantial amount of sand, gravel, cobble, large woody debris that are causing a lot of issues, not just for how the river flows through there, but also the agricultural producers that have the Rocky Virginia. And so 4,100 tons was extra material that we took out of the site. For our permit, we have to remove that out of the 100-year floodplain, and so we made arrangements for a local quarry to take that material. So here's a breakdown of all the funding partners that contributed funding. We're very thankful of it. Douglas County really stepped up to the plate for us. I really wanted to say thank you to this board for your support, but also to county staff. It's my first time working with the county manager's office, and I've worked with Courtney quite a bit in the past, but it's a great group of people to work with, and I really appreciate that relationship. So this is the point where I wanted to throw in some of the other work that we're doing. This is also with support of Douglas County. I work on these locations directly with Courtney. The 3 different locations are 2 Ranch Road. There's a river restoration project there. Running River Ranch, we had flood damage repairs to an existing project we had. And then the Cradle Bob Bridge, we had to replace a lot of our bioengineering, or our willow plants and cottonwood planting that we did.
I don't mean to cut you off, but you left the levee now, right? And you're going on the rest of, you left the levee and you're going on to the rest of. Can I ask you a question about the levee?
Oh, sure, sure.
I forgot to ask you, Mr. Chairman, but, okay, who's supposed to maintain the levee? It's not Douglas County's property. Who is supposed to do that?
So that's the difficult part, because the Carson Valley Golf Course, they own the property, but it's been there prior to them being the golf course.
It's been what?
It's been there since the late 1800s. So we think that was put in most likely by a rancher just to protect that area of his property.
That's put in meaning the levee?
Yeah.
Well, I thought those newspaper articles talked about paying for the levee, but was that just repairing the levee?
It was just repairing it. It's actually been there for quite a long time. I believe Courtney and some of the other, what's that? Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman. Question on the engineering picture you had up there. It showed the thickness of the rock from the top, the surface to where the rock ends. How deep is that?
The total rock height is about 12 feet. 12 feet. But when we get our 3-to-1 slope, we go out, I think it would be a total, so it's 12 when we go out 3 times that to get a 3-to-1 slope. And so in total, it's 36 feet tall on the bank.
Now, what I meant was the thickness.
Oh, the thickness of the rock?
Yes.
So in our plans, we have what we call a toe trench. And the reason we put the toe trench in is to keep the river from undermining our project. And that's 4 feet down the bedded surface. And then from that point up, I would say it ranges with the class 300 boulders are anywhere from 4 to 6 feet in size. And then when you go up slowly, it ends up going to about a foot in diameter on most of the top rock, if that helps.
All right, thank you very much.
I'm not done. I wasn't done yet. I tried to get an answer on who's supposed to maintain it because you stated that there's going to be work that needs to be done in the future. We're trying to figure out who's going to be responsible for that cost.
Courtney Walker, for the record. Nobody has ever claimed ownership over it, and so I can't really answer that question because nobody says, it's mine, I'll maintain it. So it's been a coordinated effort in the past, and it would be something that would be an important policy decision moving forward for who would maintain it, but it's located on private property.
Okay, so when I've had these questions before about these irrigation ditches not being cleared out and maintained, I've talked with our assistant district attorney, and he said there's a certain agency that oversees this and is supposed to make sure this gets done. But you're saying here for this area, because it's probably not an irrigation ditch, it's just a regular river flow, there's nobody. So is this the first time this has come up in the county? Because if we allow it to continue, then we're going to keep having to come up with more and more money and hope these other participating agencies do. It seems like we need to find a solution is what I'm saying.
Courtney Walker, for the record. I completely agree with you. That's why I've added a section in the Stormwater Master Plan to at least capitalize on the fact that it's there and memorialize that. But it's a policy decision. I don't know whose policy decision it is. But it's certainly not at my particular level to make the distinction on who's responsible for it. But I do agree with you that I think going forward, there should be a solidified process in terms of, what to do. And if you had an inspection and maintenance program annually, maybe you would never have to do a large scale project. So that would be my recommendation, but it is a policy decision in terms of who's responsible for it.
So, anyways, Mr. Wilkerson, I really appreciate you coming today and presenting this. I witnessed this presentation back in February at the Carson Water Sub-Conservancy District as a board member on that. And I thought it was worthwhile, very important for our residents to witness this presentation as well, along with the other 4 projects that you've been involved with in Douglas County. So I appreciate you coming here today and bringing this to us. While I recognize the fact that this is not property of Douglas County, I would contend that if we had allowed that levee to fail, it would have had possible significant damage on other infrastructure within the county. So it's like pay me now or pay me later. We couldn't afford for that to happen, in my opinion. And so with these other 3 agencies that contributed substantial amounts of money to cure this issue, to me, it was well worth a public involvement. Anyways, and I was honestly, when we approved this, I believe it was back in December or November, I was nervous that we wouldn't be able to tackle this issue fast enough. And we would not have if we had encountered the storms that we had in 23, late 22 and early 23. So I was nervous that we wouldn't be able to accomplish this in time to save that levee and prevent damage to other infrastructure, especially along Riverview Drive where this would have impacted, and also potential contamination or infiltration to the water pumping stations that the ranchos have in that area. So there would have been substantial damage beyond that other agencies would have had to take care of. So that's why I was very much in favor of this expenditure on behalf of the county. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it won't occur again, but I would imagine that with the way you built this, it will also perhaps reduce the impact or cushion some of the impact that could affect water infrastructure and the river downstream as well that was affected by these other areas that we have repaired as well. So I'm anxious to also show the public these other areas that you've repaired for our county as well. But once again, thank you for coming. It was very important.
Okay.
I just have a
Okay.
question. Where is Two Ranch Road? I don't know, and my Google doesn't know either.
Sure.
So, and
Yeah.
also Running River Ranch.
Yes, so that's an easy one. So you head out Genoa Lane and then you take a right on Deer Haven. And from there, you head north on Deer Haven. There's a couple old ranches out there where this work took place. Running River and Two Ranch are very close together. So, okay, so I guess that if you want to skip to the next one. So Cradlebob Bridge, as you know, kind of has some similar issues that we have at other bridge areas too. At this particular location, this was consistently eroding, even during low flow events, because it was a vertical bank, there was no vegetation on it. And so we knew that we had to do something here. This particular landowner had lost, I believe, 35 feet. And he kept moving his fence in, I think 2 or 3 times. And so in 2020, we did this river restoration. Unfortunately, this project, the bulk of it was bioengineering, where we use willows, cottonwood trees, grasses, and shrubs and so forth to stabilize the bank. Well, if you remember from 2020 until that big winter, it was pretty dry. And so this project, we went back out and we replanted our willows and our bioengineering. And this time, with support of Carson Water Subconservancy District, Douglas County, and Nevada Department of Wildlife, we're also going to add irrigation component to it so that we can ensure that these bioengineering treatments work. And so, if you want to go. This location was done in 2021, and unfortunately, last year's runoff impacted this structure, and so we knew we had to go in there and do maintenance. There was a lot of flood debris at this location. If you look at the rock, we call them stream barbs. They're on the right side of the picture there. You can see them. Those are set up to deflect your energy off the outside bank and put it towards the center of the channel. And what that does, it also slows down your water flows so that you'll get sediment to drop out, you'll get natural recruitment, and good things will replace it. And so this was another project that we did flood damage repairs to this last fall. So this is the Two Ranch Road project. This was scheduled to be done the fall of 2023. And we were a little bit slow in getting our Army Corps permit and our Division of State Lands permit. And so we didn't do this work that fall. We ended up doing it this year. Unfortunately for us, with last year's flooding event, the project site changed. This particular landowner lost about 38 feet from the year before till this year. And so this was a priority for us to get in there and work on. So we got this completed this year. And we really think that this will benefit not just, the landowners that live adjacent to the river, but we have a big habitat component to all of our restoration. And so you'll see, hopefully you'll see some good results with our bioengineering work here. And then the last one, this is actually a project that was an emergency project. We went out during the high flows last year and removed about 8 large cottonwood trees just upstream of the Highway 88 bridge. But what we noticed here is the channel was eroding to the south, and it was starting to undermine the bridge abutment for Highway 88. And so after removing those trees, we did a temporary repair where we placed a lot of boulders to keep the river from migrating any further. And so this last fall and winter, we came back and did the final river restoration. And so the picture on the left, you could see is once the flows receded from last year. The picture on the right is final construction after the work was done. This was a big priority for us, and fortunately for us, I didn't give NDOT any thank yous on that, but they did contribute to this project. But all in all, it was a very productive season for us, and we really appreciate your support of our district. These are all the project partners, and as I mentioned before, I didn't add NDOT to it. Douglas County is one of our biggest partners. It's where we live, and we really appreciate your support. There's a couple people on the list, not just other than NDOT, that I didn't give any thank you to, and I wanted to reach out or give props out to some other folks. Marley Jenkins is a conservation technician with the Nevada Conservation District program. She really helped us getting our Regional 8 emergency permits and helped us with reporting, and so I really appreciate her support. A final thank you I have to give out to NRCS, that's Natural Resource Conservation Service. They came and did the environmental assessment, our cultural and historical review, and our archaeological review so that we can get in there and do that emergency levee repair. So just a few people I wanted to make sure I said thank you, and I really do appreciate your support.
I'm going to assume that's the end of the presentation.
It is. Thank you.
All right.
If you have any
And
questions.
Any comments from the board?
Just once again, thank you so much. And we were just so lucky that we didn't have the atmospheric storms that we had last year so we could get this work done.
Yeah.
So that was an admirable job. Thank you very
I
much.
appreciate it. I should mention that this year was a little more unique. In years past, we've been dealing with dry riverbed, and the water never went down this year. So we had to get pretty creative on how to dewater each site, and we learned a lot this year.
Any more comments from the board? Since this is for presentation only, there will be no public comment, but I want to thank you for the presentation, and thank you for keeping our river pristine, or as pristine as you can get.
Yep.
One of the in Douglas County, one of the main requests of the residents is that we keep the county rural. And without the river, that can't happen. So thank you so much for what you do for the river and what you do for the county.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item number 5 for possible action, discussion to adopt Resolution 2024R-042, confirming the Board of County Commissioners will not take any action on the citizens' petition sent to Douglas County and the Topaz Ranch Estates General Improvement District's management and organization. Organization will remain unchanged pursuant to NRS 318.0 0.515, and our county manager, Jennifer Davidson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Jennifer Davidson, County Manager for the record. As the title of this agenda item suggests, this item appears as the conclusion of action and direction that the board received in response to a citizen petition received by my office in respect to Topaz Ranch Estates General Improvement District. The public hearing, as required per NRS, was held on March 18th, 2024, where representatives from the district and members of the public shared their concerns regarding the past operation of the district and future plans for the district. After a lengthy discussion by the county commissioners and after thoughtful consideration, the board directed me to bring back a resolution confirming that it is the desire of this board to at this time, take no further action on this matter. The draft resolution is included in the packet for your reference, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. I do note that there are a few representatives of the district in the audience. If it is the desire of the commission to hear from them prior to taking final action on this, I would encourage you to invite them forward to speak.
Thank you. Any comments from the board? If not, any comments from the GID? Okay, apparently there's no one from the board that wants to speak. So since this is for possible action, we will open it to public comment.
Jason Gibson, we can be of help to you folks. Today I'm wearing the business research consultant hat. Back in the heyday, pushed about $1 billion in office equipment. Corporate relocations was the target market for us. Copiers, phone systems, networks, everything that a company required in order to move their operations. We were involved in that and synchronizing all the vendors and all of the tech requirements to make for a successful move. We learned a lot about customer service. We learned a lot about contact management. A majority of the issues that we're facing today are communication-based issues. People are becoming increasingly isolated and entrenched in their camps. And whether you be out in Topaz or the Painted Rock Mine or out in Genoa, it's the same issue, trying to connect with people who are trying to get things done and trying to cooperate with those who have a course of action and know how to take care of their business. You're not going to find that here in the corporate body politic doing business as Douglas County dinosaurs. What you can do is localize and focalize at inpowermovement.com and learn about your notices and affidavits, due process, read your state and federal constitution, correct your political status, get with your Nevada State Assembly, and then you'll have some real traction. You'll have the traction that you need to hold government accountable and to force the hand when it comes to the redistribution of wealth and and as far as the infrastructure issues and the unbridled commercialism and all the other things that are going to result in a loss of our quality of life. These are the ways and means that you can take control of your situation, and we'll be working with you online on the Facebook groups and what have you in bringing forward the rest of the approach that you can take in taking command of your community.
Is there any further public comment?
Commissioners, my name is David Cole for the record. I'm a resident of TRE and a previous trustee for the GID. I made a presentation at your last meeting at the public hearing, asking the board to take over operation of the GID. And I mentioned that if you don't, you'll be kicking the can down the road. At the end of the presentation, or the public hearing, Commissioner Hale said, yeah, she agreed that you would be kicking the can down the road. There's all kinds of problems with the GID. I've requested documents now 3 times. The last time was certified a letter, return receipt requested, which I haven't I had a response to yet. It's been, well, they probably received it last Thursday or Friday, and I still haven't had a receipt. One of the problems is the GID doesn't even have anybody at the office to collect rents or do anything else. I believe that once I receive all those documents, I will show that there is improper action by the GID. I think that public funds have been misused, and I will proceed. I have contacted the State Attorney General's office, and as soon as I have proof, I will submit documents to them asking for the State Attorney General to take over an investigation into the GID. Right now, I'm asking the commissioners to postpone any decision on this and don't kick the can down the roads, have some integrity, and postpone any decision on this matter for 6 months. Thank you.
Any further public comment?
I'm a board member, but I will take this opportunity. Mike Tanner for the record. First off, we do have staff. Second off, Mr. Acola, in his knowledge or not, has not filed properly his FOIA nor his last requests. From what I understand, I got a letter yesterday asking about some documentations of some emergency repairs that we did, that he requested and he voted on for us to do them. I don't know how much longer we've got to go on with this. I mean, this is something that we could have sat down and discussed and not wasted everybody's time with. This is terrible. I mean, it's just ridiculous that one misinformed and over proven incorrect individual can waste all of our time. I plan on litigating this. Through the GID, I know we're well over $10,000 and a ton of lost time that we could have been using. I'm just done with it. And I know the county spent a ton of money on this as well, and I intend to prove it. So bring it on, Mr. Acola. Thank you.
Is there any more public comment? Seeing none, I will bring it back to the board.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you. As a resident of TRE myself, I recognize that there has a great many residents down there signed a petition asking us to take a look at that, and we did. We hired our previous chief financial officer to do a study of the financial records of the GID, and her recommendation to us was to take no action. And so while I appreciate the number of residents that asked us to take a look at it, we did and did our due diligence. And through her actions and through recommendations of their board of trustees, they asked us to allow them to go forward and govern the GID in the manner in which they are doing so. So while once again I appreciate the the desires of a number of residents down there. I don't see any reason, and I stated this the last time, I don't see any reason, and I don't see any compelling evidence to suggest otherwise. So if we're ready for a motion, I'd like to offer a motion, unless the other commissioners have something to say. No?
Seeing
Then I will
none.
move for the adoption of Resolution 2024-R-042, confirming the Board of County Commissioners will not take any action on the citizens petition sent to Douglas County, and the Topaz Ranch Estates General Improvement District Management and Organization will remain unchanged pursuant to NRS 318.515.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. On to item number 6 for possible action. Discussion to change one vacant part-time office specialist, 19 hours per week, to a 32-hour per week position for the town of Genoa. And Judy Bruns. Did I get it right?
You did not, but you were close.
Okay.
Jody Bruns, Genoa Town Manager, for the record. So we currently have 2 part-time 19-hour-a-week positions. One is currently filled by a very long-time valued Douglas employee. The other one is vacant since I held that position before I became town manager. I am asking that we take the vacant 19-hour-a-week position, change it to a 32-hour position with benefits, to help us with some serious staffing issues that we have. Perfect example is our town office is closed, has been closed since 10 o'clock this morning, and it will be closed the rest of the day because I have another commitment after this. So we really do need a body in there to help out keeping the office open. We have a balanced budget for 24-25 to include this position. So I don't see any problems going forward.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
I realize, Mr. Chair.
Go
Thank you. Ms. Bruns? Bruns?
Correct.
Okay. So you have 2 part-time positions now, and what you're going to do is just narrow that down to 1 position?
No.
Or you're going to keep 1 part-time and 1 full-time, basically?
We'll have one 19-hour-a-week part-time position, which is currently filled, and then we'll do away with the second 19-hour vacant position and switch that over to a 32-hour position.
Okay, but this is concluded in your budget. It's not coming out of our general fund.
That's correct.
Okay. Music to my ears.
Thank you. Depending on what you decide, it'll be music to my ears.
Okay.
Okay.
So you feel like the easier to recruit if you can provide some benefits.
Absolutely. And we've had a lot of interest in the position already. So,
Any further comments or questions from the board? Since this is for possible action, we will open it to public comment. Seeing none, I will bring it back to the board.
I'm going to make a motion. I never do. I'm going to make a motion to authorize a change of the 1 part-time office specialist from a 19-hour per week status to a 32-hour per week status for the town of Genoa.
Moved
Oh my
and
gosh.
seconded. Any further comment?
I
All
was going to
those in
second
favor?
that because Danny Turkanian suggested I never support his motion, so. Anyways.
Having heard
A
that,
lot of truth in that one, buddy.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
thank you.
You're quite welcome. All right, why don't we go ahead and take on item number 7, and then we will break for lunch after that. So item number 7, for presentation only. Introduction of ordinance 2024-1637, An ordinance approving a zoning map amendment for the site of the proposed Douglas County Justice Center, a 57-acre parcel on APN 1320-28-000-045, located at 1280 Buckeye Road, changing the zoning designation from A19, agricultural 19-acre minimum lot size, to PF, public facilities. The subject parcel is located on the Minden Community Plan and the Buckeye Farm Specific Plan. The applicant is Douglas County, and the applicant's representative is R.O. Anderson of R.O. Anderson Engineering. This is the first reading. Linda Doherty. Did I get that one right? Yeah, all right.
That was perfect. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Glad we're all inside and not in the wind outside. Oof. Today is just an introduction of the ordinance for a zoning map amendment, as you mentioned, to change the zoning that's currently agricultural and change it to public facilities for the proposed Justice Center. That's going to be located at 1280 Buckeye Road. And I do want to mention that this zoning map amendment, along with a special use permit, was approved by the town of Minden last night. The special use permit is going to be presented to the Planning Commission next week. And then this is just an introduction, so we'll be bringing this zoning map amendment back to you next month. So, any questions?
All right, any questions from the board?
Just an observation, Mr. Chair.
Sir?
Just an observation.
Go ahead.
It'd be kind of stupid for us, because this is our facility that we're going to be building, so it's kind of stupid for us to oppose this. So anyways, I'm not projecting that we do. So anyways, that was not a comment geared at my fellow commissioners. Please don't take offense to that comment.
All right, any other comments from the board? Since this is first reading and for presentation only, there will be no public comment. And I believe that we've covered all the bases on this one. All right, thank you very much, and thank you for being here.
And thank you for being here. Have a great day.
It's been requested that we go ahead and take the next item, which is also for presentation only.
Mr. Chairman, can I just say something before maybe some others leave? I don't know if anyone's here for item number 9, but it's the only action item left. It seems silly not to do that one and make these people come back an hour and 15 minutes later, if there is anybody here. But that's just you make the decision because you're the big chair.
Number 9 can take quite a while, so I think we'll just go ahead and do it as we are. And so this is item number 8 for presentation only. Introduction of ordinance 2024-1636, an ordinance approving a zoning map amendment and planning development overlay district for APN 1220-03-000-034 and 1220-03-000-043 by 1, repealing ordinance number 2006-1179, which changed the zoning on the subject property from an A19 agricultural 19-acre minimum lot size to SFR 8,000, single-family residential 8,000 square foot minimum lot size, PF, public facilities, and S1, service industrial, to a PD plan development overlay, PD 06-003, because the associated development was never inaugurated and the tentative map expired. And 2, reclassifying the subject property as SF4 8000, single-family residential, 8,000 square foot minimum lot size, MFR, multifamily residential, 24,000 square foot minimum lot size, PF, public facilities, and NC, neighborhood commercial, with a PD, planned development overlay. The board may also discuss the associated tentative subdivision maps, DP 23-0050 overlay, DP 23-0051, and DP 24-0014. The subject property is located south of Toller Lane and east of Muller Parkway, within the Virginia Ranch Specific Plan and the Gardnerville Community Plan. The applicant is Stan Lucas, and the appellant's representative is Chris Baker. Hardman Consulting. This is the first reading. Kate Morolis O'Neill.
Now I understood why you wanted to take a break after this. Jeez.
Good afternoon. For the record, Lucille Rayo, Community Development. Unfortunately, Ms. Morolis O'Neill is not able to attend today, so I am here on her behalf. As you stated, it is the first reading of the ordinance. This is for the Virginia Ranch Specific Plan. Originally was approved back in 2004. It's been on the books for quite a long time, as some other projects has been recognized lately in our meetings. So we don't really have a presentation for you today. We will have a presentation for you at the second reading. And with that, questions?
Mr. Chairman, I had one question just for the clarification on the project, if that's
Yes,
okay.
sir.
So it's my understanding, if I'm reading this correctly, this is a lot, is they had the zoning of SFR 8000 and they had the zoning of public facilities, which is what they're going to have again. They also had service industrial, which you're going to eliminate, but they want to add neighborhood commercial and multifamily residential, which is actually 3 times the size of the lot size that they are currently zoned for. Is that correct?
From my understanding, that's correct.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
And Ms. Rayo, you can let Kate Morolis O'Neill know that I did not have this item moved to the administrative agenda. She always accuses me of moving her consent calendar items to the administrative agenda, but that did not occur today. So that's number one. Number two, with all, and this has been on the books for over 20 years, 25 years or so. I mean, and so it's nice to finally see something of this nature coming forward, because it also, their development agreement requires them to build out 4 lanes of Muller, which is important to us as we go forward with building Muller over the next year and a half. So I'm anxious to get this going. Even with all these changes, though, it does not allow for the building of more than their original development agreement, which is 1,020 homes, I believe. Is that correct?
For the record, Lucille Rayo, that's correct. Nothing's changed as far as those numbers. They're just moving around some of the types of zoning and phasing plan.
Thank you.
And my apologies, I was reading and didn't look up. All right, any further comments by the board? Since this is for presentation only, there will be no public comment, and we will break for lunch until the hour of 1 o'clock. We are in recess. All right, my computer says that it's 1 o'clock, so we will come out of recess, and we'll go to item number 9. This is for possible action. Discussion on land division application DP 24-0010, a request for a tentative subdivision map to create 119 parcels, the smallest being 6,001 square foot and the largest being 14,371 square feet in size, in the SFR 8,000 single-family residential 8,000 square foot minimum net parcel size. The planned development zoning district in the Indian Hills Jack Valley Community Plan. The parcel is located north of North Sundridge Drive and east of Highway 395. The applicant's representative is Karen Downs, Manhard Consulting Ltd., and the owner is Carson City Mall, LLC, Michael Hall, APN 1420-05 401-011. Lucille Rayo.
Thank you, Chairman Rice. For the record, Lucille Rayo, Senior Planner. The tentative subdivision map request before you is part of an existing plan development and has been previously approved by both the Planning Commission and the Board of Commissioners. The original tentative subdivision map for 119 single-family residential lots, application DP 190241, expired February of this year. Therefore, the applicant was required to resubmit the map. The design of the submittal is exactly the same as what was approved in 2019, including open space, right-of-way, design, grading, drainage, and lot configuration. Staff is recommending approval of the map. The findings can be found starting on packet page 1101, and the conditions of approval begin on packet page 1104.
What date did you say it expired again? I'm sorry.
In February of this year. Staff is recommending approval of the map. Okay, I'm sorry. Today we have the applicant's representative, Karen Downs with Manhard Consulting, who has prepared a presentation for you. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I would like to invite Ms. Downs to the podium. I would like to invite Karen to start the presentation for you.
See if it'll go low enough for me. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Karen Downs. I'm with Manhard Consulting, and I'm here representing the applicant on the North Douglas County Residential Unit 1 tentative map. Again, as you'll see here, the project location, it's the north side of North Sunridge Drive and just east of Highway 395. It's about a 27-acre site. It's okay. Lucille went over a little bit of the background, but I wanted to give you some more on the different approvals as part of this project. Again, it was approved in 2020. It was part of a comprehensive plan for the entire 203-acre portion of the North Douglas County specific plan. The approvals at that time included, along with the specific plan, it was a Riverwood Big George Plan Development Overlay, which included this tentative map, the North Douglas County Residential Unit 1 tentative map, and Residential Unit 2 tentative map. The existing land use designations, it has a master plan of single-family residential and a zoning designation of SFR 8,000 PD, and the PD again is the Riverwood Big George Plan Development Overlay. This application request, those two small ones in green, the light green are just two that were previously approved, the Plan Development Overlay and the tentative map for Unit 2. This is for the North Douglas County Residential Unit 1 tentative map. It's 119 lot single-family residential subdivision. And essentially, it's a resubmittal of the previously approved tentative map to allow for an extension of time. Again, it expired in February 24 and is part of the original comprehensive approval package. This tentative map was approved by the Planning Commission unanimously in March. Okay, so the tentative map before you today, again, it's a portion of the approved PD overlay. The site area is 27.26 acres. We're looking at 119 single-family residential lots with an average lot size of about 7,000 square feet. The density is 4.36 dwelling units per acre, which is less than the allowed density on the site. We'll talk a little bit more about the common area open space, but the project, again, as part of the PD overlay, has common area that's within the entire PD overlay, not just on this site. So the total common area open space is 48.2 acres. Of the total PD, it's 41.9% of the whole planned development overlay. This project is, again, in conformance with that. So this next slide shows, I don't have my glasses on, so I'll do my best. This next slide shows the entire PED. That heavy dark boundary shows the PD area, which includes this residential unit 1 tentative map and then residential unit 2, which is currently under construction.
May I ask a question? May I ask a question before we go further? I notice on the north end of that is a school site, and I know that your company is involved with Virginia Ranch, and they have indicated they had some land that was dedicated to a school site also. And from what I understand, the Douglas County School District has indicated that there's no plans for additional schools. So I know that isn't part of this, but I'm wondering about what the plan is in that regard. Is that an appropriate question or not? Because it doesn't involve this 119 units.
I will add, you're right, it doesn't involve this tentative map, but it is part of the original approvals. So the school site, there are conditions, so the school will decide at that time what they want to do with that site when that development is ready, and then it's zoned public facilities underlying. So it would not be part of residential development. Okay,
I guess we'll find out about that some other later date, unless you want to address that.
There we go. Okay, Tom Delaire, Community Development Director. The school site was a condition as part of the original development in the specific plan, I believe, as well. They had and I can't remember the time frame to decide. The school district has a time frame on this. I think it was 15 years or 10 years or something to that effect, where they could decide to purchase the property from the development, and if they needed another school site. They still have over 50 acres, I believe, down at Jacks Valley, where the school sites could be located, so I'm not sure that this is needed, but we kept it in here, or the developer proposed it for a certain period, and then if the school doesn't approach them in that time frame, then they would come back and come up with a plan for that particular area.
Thank you, Mr. Diller.
okay. Yes, if we're ready, well, I have a little bit more on this PD overlay. So again, the tentative map is consistent with the PD overlay, which again is that heavy black border of a lot size with the PD overlay, minimum 6,000 square foot, and lot width of 55 feet. It's consistent with the setbacks, the density, again, the open space, which is part of the entire black boundary, and the architecture. The project's also consistent with the master plan, zoning, number of lots, lot configuration, infrastructure standards, everything as already approved. Well, I won't go over again, but again, it implements the existing approvals, and it's consistent with all the existing approved documents, the specific plan, PD overlay, and the existing tentative map conditions of approval. Those conditions of approval have been carried over into the conditions of approval before you today. The project connects to the pedestrian access points in the adjacent development, and trails, and consistent with the specific plan trails. I did mean to point out, can you go back to the last slide? On the last slide, there's kind of a light gray. Anyway, there's this light gray line that represents the trail that goes through the whole specific plan area.
Can I follow up on that?
Of course.
Thank you for pointing that out. And then I understand that there is planned a trail along 395 as well, so this connects to that.
That is correct. That was one of the conditions, and I believe it was I don't remember if it was the specific plan amendment. I think it was the specific plan, North Douglas County specific plan. There is a path that goes along 395, connects to that.
Sorry to interrupt. On that trail, on 395, that was something that Larry Walsh had made a motion and added that as a condition in the motion to approve that specific plan. But in this particular image, you can see where 395 is located. You have two parcels that are not part of the subject site along 395, so there will not be a continuous trail along there. And then also for ADA compliance, the steepness of the slopes I'm concerned about as well, and being able to provide an accessible path that is mandatory to go up those and over those hills in those two locations between the two private properties. And so we may be back to you guys in the future to adjust that condition at some point, but not part of this particular development.
I think it would be really useful for this neighborhood to be able to get into Carson City on a trail, biking and whatever. And so I will be interested in pursuing that eventually. And I'm glad that there's this gray line trail through all of this, which is, I guess, the relevant point for today. But appreciate all that information.
Yeah, and the Carson, or Center Drive is in the upper right-hand corner of the site. You can see the road kind of coming down and swooping swooping to the right there in the upper right-hand corner where it says Residential Unit 2. That is the main road for Topsy that comes down and intersects with Center Drive. So the path actually connects to Center down there, and people can get into Carson on Center rather than out on 395. And then also there's a Riverwood Road. You can see the right-of-way on the west side of this development, where the school site is at. Riverwood will have basically like a parkway type road that connects Sunridge down to Topsy. So the pedestrians can get to that road and then on and cross over 395 at the intersection of Topsy and 395.
It's getting better the more you talk. It's good. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Oh, that's good. Thank you. Okay, I think we were on the next slide of, a phasing plan. So as with tentative map requirements, we submitted a phasing plan along with this that's also consistent with the PD overlay. One change that we presented at Planning Commission, and so this phasing plan you have before you is slightly different than what's in your packet because of the conditions of approval that came out to improve Voyager Lane. So if you see there's two lots that basically front that road on Voyager Lane. Basically, I'll just add real quick, instead of 44 lots in the first phase, we'd be looking at 46 to account for two lots that front the improvements. So they're right. This is a finicky mouse. Yeah. These two lots right here. We'd be proposing in phase one. They're shown here on the phasing plan. The Planning Commission reviewed that and did not have any concerns. And again, this is consistent with the phasing plan that was submitted with the PD overlay. Okay, with that, I'd just like to add we are, of course, in favor with staff's recommendation for approval and the unanimous Planning Commission recommendation for approval. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. All right, any questions or comments from the board?
I only had one question, and that was, is there a reason for the delay of this development?
It's just been timing of the project as a whole. Some other items have come before us. We've seen lots of activity on this overall project as a whole. Just this tentative map specifically didn't come up within the 4 years.
Any further questions? Seeing none, I'll open this to public comment.
Good afternoon, Ellie Waller. This is where I live. North County's specific plan is within my community plan, Jacks Valley, as well as the North County. I don't know if any of you have visited this area recently, done site looks, and understand between certain hours of the day what the traffic looks like there. I highly suggest you take a look at North County in its entirety, the 664 acres that comprise the North County, I think it's 664, specific plan. This specific plan is owned by the county, not a specific plan or a development agreement, so they are the lead. It's been many years. I'm very glad we're not having an accessory casino located there, but with that said, there's also a project that's been presented before you for a memory care center there, and I'm hoping in that general vicinity, and when you're looking at entries and exits that are being worked with NDOT, there was a request for a deceleration lane. Are there any requirements? I don't think so, that projects coordinate. We never know when they're going to get on the ground. NDOT will have a big job at looking at this area in its entirety. I understand that the project's gone through many, many, many iterations, but having something expire, not just this one, but many, I don't know if Title 20 can enlist a better way to get these projects looked at before we have expirations of any kind of issue within a plan. I think it's prudent that we understand what's going on the ground, and expirations I do not believe should be acceptable. Okay, we're here 5 years later. In the responses, it talks about a transportation facility under the improvement standards. I don't know what your definition of facility is, but in the future it would be nice to better understand what a transportation facility requirement is. We all kind of understand drainage facilities, wastewater. What is a transportation facility requirement? I didn't turn in any comments today because there is so much here that needs to be revisited. I'm just hoping that there's coordination between NDOT as well as who can I talk to on staff that has an overarching responsibility for the North County specific plan. Thank you.
Jim Jackson. I guess I don't have to be from a house now. One of the things that was mentioned earlier in the meeting was that we want to keep the valley rural. I don't know what the definition of rural is for everybody, but looking at all these developments that are coming in and the smallness of the lots for the houses, I came from Southern California, from an area that was all orange groves, lemon groves, and vineyards. It turned out to be rooftop to rooftop, and that's why I left. I don't see where any of these developers or any of the departments within the county that are working with the developers are paying any attention to wanting to keep the valley rural when you pack this many homes together. Just my comment on it. Most of these have been approved for 20 years or whatever it's been, so you're kind of stuck with them. But everyone that comes in, they're packed rooftop to rooftop. That's not rural, not at all. And it's going to get worse if we keep going this way. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board.
So this is zoned for the size of these lots? These are rhetorical questions.
It's Tom Delaire for the record, that's correct.
And it's in the part of the master plan for this type of a development?
In the specific plan. Yep.
Specific, well, in the master plan too, right?
In the master plan
Okay.
references the specific plan.
And it's been approved by a previous Board of Commissioners?
Yes.
So what grounds would we have to say no at this point? What legal grounds? Oh, well, I'm just saying this because we've had a couple people question, and you talk about wanting to keep the valley rural.
Right.
But there's a zoning that's been in place.
Right.
That you can't take from somebody without just compensation.
Right.
And I don't see them asking for any changes here.
We agree with your assessment, yep. And the PD allows the smaller lot size than 8,000 square feet because they did a plan development and they weren't in actually receiving area, so they provided the open space needed. Now, the open space is a lot of drainage, but there is connectivity throughout the whole plan development, which I think, in California, they would have graded down the hill and added more homes.
Any further comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Nosan.
the one thing that's not in this plan is how it affects the people of the county. The only time I ever heard the county jump up and shout was with the Painted Rock Mine. And I don't know how much good that's going to do, because that's cast in concrete too. So I think the only solution to this would be to really stiffen up Title 20 to be very exact on what developers can and cannot do. And secondarily, listen to the voice of the people.
Thank you. Any further comment? I'll bring it back for a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Gardner.
I would move for the approval of land division application DP 24-0010, a request for a tentative subdivision map to create 119 parcels in the Plan Development Zoning District in the Indian Hills Jacks Valley Community Plan as indicated in the agenda.
Is there a second?
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Doug Ritchie, the District Attorney's Office. For the motion, is that going to be subject to the conditions contained in the staff report?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, and we are finally getting to item number 10, where we actually have time to talk about what we've been doing. So this is for presentation only. Announcements, reports, updates from county commission members, including updates on the various boards and/or commissions that they may be a member of or a liaison to, or meetings and functions you've attended, and any request by a commissioner for discussion of a future agenda item. And we will start with Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you. The only report I have is that I did not attend the Community Parks and Recreation Commission meeting on Tuesday night because they were discussing the budget. And and I feel like I spent 4 days enough discussing the budget last week, so I indicated to them that I would be skipping that meeting. So anyways, other than that, I have nothing else to report.
So I hardly ever speak on these parts, so I'm going to stretch it and try to find something interesting to say. We finally had a meeting with the Tahoe Conservation District, and as I mentioned in our last meeting, the discussion at Carroll Road came up. It's my understanding, from what they told us, I had thought talking to this board that the U.S. government had sent to Douglas, Colorado, the $1.2 million, but they hadn't actually sent it. I guess it was designated, but it hasn't, so it can't be transferred from them to us. It has to go from federal government to us, so we haven't got it yet still. And because of that, there's been a cost delay along with an additional problem with some of the drainage that's raised the cost to Carroll Road. As with all these projects, the longer these things are delayed, the more it's going to cost us. And it'd be nice if we can get this thing finished.
For the record, last week, County Manager, we signed the papers to request that money be forwarded to us. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Jennifer Davidson, County Manager. I'm not aware of the timing of when we signed it, but I do know that we were signing to get it transferred, yes.
So hopefully the funds will be on their way. Of course, now that we've had such a delay, it's going to cost us a little bit more. But that's the way of the world, I guess. Anything else, sir? All right, Commissioner Nosad. Commissioner Hales.
I'll be short. I'm happy to say that final interviews were held for China Spring Youth Camp Director, and so that is moving forward. And all of the other committees I'm assigned to, entities are doing good things, and I'll leave it there.
Thank you. As many of you are painfully aware, we spent last week with the county budget. It's always a interesting exercise, and we will be revisiting that a couple of times in the near future. And I attended a Tahoe Transportation District Board meeting yesterday where we're talking about interconnectivity between the counties around the lake and the two states around the lake. And once again, California is all for electrifying everything but their own people. And, ooh, I said that, didn't I? Anyway, they push for electric buses, but the TTD has reached out, and the buses that they would have us buy are not available. They haven't been built yet, and there's no infrastructure for taking care of them. So they are going to be looking again for some more diesel vehicles. Electric doesn't seem to work horribly well in frigid climates. Something about recharging or not recharging. So we are working on that. And other than the fact that we're having a VOCC meeting today, my oldest daughter and her husband are coming in tomorrow, so I won't be here. Y'all have a good time now here. So, having said that, we will move to closing public comment.
Good afternoon. Ellie Waller, I strongly urge you all to listen to the March 27th governing TRPA, Tahoe Regional Planning Agency Governing Board meeting and all their committees. It wasn't that long a meeting that day, but lots of gems to be listened to that could and may very well affect Douglas County, our ability to fund mandates that may be coming out in 2026. I don't know how Douglas County, because I'm still new here relatively, does public-private partnerships to raise $7 million a year for 20 years if this mandate goes through. Again, you can get a preview of that during the March 27th meeting. I'd be happy to send anybody a link to all the committee meetings and anything that day. The 1.347 million may be increased for the Kale Drive, as mentioned. I don't know what that funding source, whether it be large or small, could come out of the TOT funds, which then we need to look at how we fund the microtransit. Again, those funds should not be single-sourced, in my opinion. Also today, it is very evident that school sites may suffer in the future because development plans sit on a shelf for 15, 20 plus years. And how do we plan for that, much like how do we plan for the correct infrastructure for all these projects as they seem to be surfacing more frequently? It doesn't mean they're going to get built, maybe coming back for other iterations. But we do need to take in consideration that we are trying to build, or maybe trying to build, a younger population here. Affordable housing is going to become a subject. Nevada is going down a similar route to California in mandates in the future. Might not be near-term future, but I think we will see more and more push and presentation for affordable housing. The state of California is mandating things in Tahoe on the California side that is ridiculous, and I would hate to see Douglas County put in the same position that Placer County and El Dorado County are in. I always have lots to say. The TTD Implementation Committee I attended was pushing for the electric, and the TTD is going to need a maintenance and operations station, and it's been mentioned that that should be in Douglas County. How that expansion works for us and the conflict that's going to be with the Barton Hospital needs to be looked at now. Thank you.
Guess we scared them all away. Jim Jackson. I'm your broken record, Johnson Lane. One of the questions that I didn't bring up earlier is when we saw the presentation by the BIA, and they had all their experts there, and they all said without a doubt there'd be absolutely no effect to our residential area. No increase in noise, no detrimental traffic problems, no safety problems, all those different things. Who do we hold responsible when we prove, just by the act of all those things being back and forth down there, that they were totally wrong on everything they said? Who do we go after at that point? That's a good question, because you know that within, probably after the first year, every one of their findings will have been proven false and stuff, because they were outcome-based studies, every one of them. So I don't know what you're planning on doing. I hope you're planning on doing something. I've had some people in positions that say they know what's going on, that you are. I hope, for everybody's sake, that you are going to be doing something. This doesn't need to be done. It's going to be very detrimental to all the people up in the Johnson Lane area, and there's a lot of us up there, a whole lot of us up there. And everybody every day goes out and looks at that road coming down from the mine. They walk their dogs out there, they ride their horses out there. My wife was out there this morning riding her horse. And she said that once those trucks start, she cannot go in that direction anymore. It just would not be safe and everything. So it's really going to be a problem. And we're hoping that you really will do something about it. This other comment that I made about what is rural, building housetop to housetop is not rural. It really isn't. That's what happened in Southern California. When we moved to Rancho Cucamonga, it was orange groves and vineyards. And when we left, it was rooftop to rooftop all the way to LA, and that was 50 miles. I drove it every day. And that's why I left and came up here to a rural environment that we would like to see continue. But I implore you, do something about Johnson Lane so that they cannot destroy our lifestyles up there. Thank you.
I just have a quick question. Can I ask the county manager something?
Well, you already did, so go.
Well, I'm asking you permission first, so I got 2 questions. Yes? Ms. Davidson, what's been the increase in homes or population that we discussed in our meeting the other day over the last 10 years? Because there's, well, as long as you can go back. Because there's the misconception that there's all these housetops.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Tarkanian for the question. Sorry. So we were speaking about growth and specifically about building permits. And so last calendar year, 300 building permits had been issued, which was an approximately 1.2% growth, I think. And Mr. Delaire has left because he's the department that tracks this for Douglas County. Prior to for the last 2 or 3 years, we've been averaging about 1.2% growth in this community. Prior to that, we were averaging closer to 0.7, 0.9% growth. There was a recent article in the Record Courier that talked about population only changing in Douglas County by 63 individuals, and I'd encourage members of the public to read that. We are going to be working with community development to establish a dashboard to share this data in a meaningful way, an understandable way with the public. We understand that there is a lot of concern regarding growth in Douglas County, and so we want to make sure that we provide factual information to the public.
So they passed a growth ordinance, you can say what year, it was 2% annually?
The Douglas County Growth Management Ordinance passed in 2007, and it limits the total growth in Douglas County to 2%. And since the Growth Management
annually.
Ordinance has been passed, we have never hit that 2% number.
Mr. Chairman. Address to County Manager. In that same meeting, did we not talk about what the population was when I came here in 2001 and what it is now and the percentage of gain?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, would you like a presentation on growth? I'm happy to bring this item back to the agenda. Commissioner Noah said, you and I met separately and we discussed growth. And yes, the population has changed significantly since 1980. It has doubled since 1980. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair. Not to delay the meeting, but however, I just wanted to make a public announcement. That on March 22nd of this year, several weeks ago, we lost a valuable member of our Airport Advisory Committee. Mr. A.J. Ursick lost his battle to terminal cancer. And on Sunday, April 7th, at the Ranch View Room of the Community Center, a celebration of life will be conducted between 11 and 2:15. I believe that's open to the public. So I just wanted to make a public announcement of that effect. Other than that, I guess we can close the meeting.
Thank you, and I believe we already closed public comment. All right, public comment is closed, and we are adjourned.